Hey guys, so today we have this Xbox Series X in for cleaning, and as you'll see from some of the B-roll as well, this is desperately in need of a clean. I gave it a quick try, booted it up, loaded a game, and there was dust popping around on top of the fan, so it's definitely in need of a clean. And yeah, just from the outside, it's definitely showing signs that it hasn't been done for a little while. The customer has said that the Xbox has survived a couple of house renovations, so plenty of dust flying around and things like that. So yeah, I'm expecting this to be pretty good clean. So let's get into it. So we'll start off by removing this sticker here and this little pad here as well. They've got the two screws to get into the back. Here we have our first look inside. So straight off the bat, there's plenty to clear out here. This poor fan has been working hard to try and keep this thing cool, but yeah, clearly in need of a good clean out. So I'll start off just by taking the individual components out. We'll strip this thing right back to the casing, and then we'll take it from there. So at the top of the console there are 3 screws holding the fan in place, so we'll get those taken out first. So with the 3 screws out and the cable removed, we can pull this fan out and get a closer look at what's been going on here. And yeah, there we go. So that's definitely seen better days. Here we're just removing the base of the console, so there's a little clip inside. It's a little bit difficult to see on camera, but I was just moving that out of the way, and that allows the bottom sort of foot plate to come off. And now we're just removing the screws ready to get the disk drive out. So there's one at the bottom of the console and one to the left hand side, and then it's just a case of getting in there with some sort of prying tool and just lifting it up, and that will reveal the back of the disk drive. And once that's removed, you can see we've got these 2 connectors here that just need removing, and then the disk drive itself will just slide straight out. And now we're just going to remove the final screws from the bottom of the console. So there's a couple holding in the main body with the board and the power supply, etc., and one in the bottom right, which is for the front USB port, as well as the sync button for the controllers. So here we are into the bare bones, and it is caked in dust. So we'll go ahead and get these final boards out, and then we can go ahead and get this case nice and clean. And here we're just going to start off by taking out the board at the top. This is for the power button, so there's just 4 screws holding that in, and then it's a case of just gently prying away that ribbon cable that you can see at the top. We definitely don't want to be damaging that. And as you'll see here in a second, there's just 1 screw holding in the board in the bottom right. That's again the front USB. Okay, so what I'm going to start off with doing is just a very quick brush over, just to get some of that surface level dust, just detach it from the casing, and then we'll go ahead and give it a bit of a spray with some compressed air, and then see what we're working with from there. Okay, so after that quick initial clean, we are certainly looking better, but there is still a little bit more to go. So we'll go ahead and get at this with some alcohol, just to give it a proper clean. Apologies, the angle here isn't the greatest, but all I'm doing is getting in there with a cotton bud and some alcohol just to get into all those nooks and crevices. We just don't want to leave any dust behind. Okay, so now that we have our shell all cleaned up, looking nice and fresh, it's time to get on to some of the internal components. And here again is that front USB board, this time of course out of the case. Just a couple more screws to take out here, and we just separate that board from the plastic housing, and as you'll see, there is even more dust sort of creeping its way underneath, so we go ahead and get that cleared out. And moving on to the main board itself, it looks a little bit more aggressive because it's sped up, but trust me, you really want to be careful brushing around on these boards. You really don't want to knock any components or anything like that. But of course, we've got to get the dust off, so yeah, just make sure that you're very careful when doing this. And now it's time to just pop those screws back in and get this part reassembled. Moving on to the sort of main body, as you can see there's this little rubber banding that just goes around, so we're just going to take that off first. And of course we're going to go at this and just get the surface level dust off with the tweezers. As you can see, it comes off pretty nicely there, and then we'll go at it with some compressed air just to blast all the way through and make sure there's nothing left inside. And now we can just start disassembling here. So starting off with the power supply, we'll just pop that cover off there, and that will release the actual cable. A few more screws and that power supply will come loose. And here we're just disconnecting the Wi-Fi board, just 3 screws on top, and then that just pulls off nicely. And as you'll see here in a second, there is a little metal casing there. That's just hiding another screw. So main thing is when you're reassembling, just remember to pop that screw in first and then pop the metal casing over the top. And now we can get this front cover removed. Just be careful of those cables at the top and the bottom. Don't want to be catching any of those. There's another plastic clip holding in the power supply cable, and again, just lift that one up and pull the cable out very carefully. And out it comes. So as you'll see, we aren't going right down to the depths of replacing any thermal putty or any thermal paste in this video, but if that is something that you'd like to see, let me know. And here we are just reassembling that main body, so getting those boards back together, and of course that sort of metal frame in the middle as well. And now we're just going to move on to cleaning the power supply. And now just moving on to the optical drive, just giving it a bit of a brush on the outside. I did have a peek inside just to double check that everything internally was fine, and it was. That casing is pretty good at keeping everything out. If you want to check it, it's just 4 screws on the back, as you'll see, but just be very, very careful. Obviously, you don't want to go getting anything affecting the laser or anything like that inside. And finally, for the internal components, the fan. Of course, this took a lot of work, but in the end it came out looking pretty much brand new. That last clip there served absolutely no purpose to the cleaning process. I just wanted to do it. And now we're just going to start the reassembly. So that bottom board just slides right in with that same screw at the top, and the power button board is again 4 screws at the top, and yeah, just be very mindful of that ribbon cable. This part here can be a little bit tricky. You've got to be very careful of that cable at the top and the bottom. and there is a little kind of pin that slots in to the bottom of the Xbox. You want to make sure they're lined up so that it sits properly. Once that's in, you can just drop the optical drive in, get those cables back in there, and get that cover on there as well. And finally, the fan with the hidden Master Chief little Easter egg there. And again, this just slides right back into place, and then just pop the connector back into the board. Now, we aren't completely done with the cleaning, as you can see here, just going over that little foot at the bottom of the Xbox, giving that a good clean out, and there is also the back panel as well, which you'll see in a moment. I did go over the actual casing itself on the exterior, with the paint and everything. Unfortunately, I have lost the footage, but effectively it was just a case of going over it, trying to get scrape the excess paint off as much as I could, just with a plastic scraper tool, and then with the rest of it, I used some pink stuff like paste. It is slightly abrasive, so you do have to be careful when using that. But with the texture of the Xbox anyway, as long as you don't go too hard, as you'll see at the end, it really didn't it really wasn't noticeable. And here we go, pretty much at the end of the clean now. Just a case of popping this back panel on, getting those screws back in place, and putting the stickers back in. Once that's on, you'll see a little bit of footage just showing the exterior of the case. And there we have it, a teardown and clean of an Xbox Series X. I hope this has been useful to you. If so, please let me know. Drop me a comment or a like, and consider subscribing. I plan on putting out a lot more videos around consoles and repairs. Thanks for watching.